I had dashed my hopes. I thought I would never be able to come up and be known as a musician.
Awesome Tapes from Africa now exists as a way to bridge that gap between people who want to sell their music and people who want to buy their music. I was like, I should turn Awesome Tapes from Africa into a record label, do licensing deals with the artists. You give them cash up front and then do a 50-50 deal.
If you're on a record label like Awesome Tapes from Africa, then you are portrayed in the eyes of the world.
Welcome to my tape world. Hi, I'm Brian Shimkovitz, and this is my project, Awesome Tapes from Africa. I collect cassettes from all over the continent. I got over 5,000 tapes. Got all kinds of rap music from different parts of the continent, traditional music, pop music from Senegal, Moroccan devotional music, political songs. A lot of the labels are focused on a very narrow type of music, stuff that works for the dance floor, typically. We put out music that no other label would put out. So Awesome Tapes from Africa now exists as a way to bridge that gap between people who want to sell their music and people who want to buy their music. I was doing my university degree in ethnomusicology at Indiana University, and I had never traveled abroad in my life. And I was already interested in African popular music, and I thought Ghana sounded like a really approachable but vastly different place. I was going to different regions of the country, and different music was available in different places, so it was just very interesting to me. I just completely fell in love with the music and culture that I was being exposed to in West Africa. The first time I went looking for cassettes in Ghana was actually when I was based in Kumasi, which is the second largest city in the center of the country. I remember at a corner of two main streets at a place called Amakom Roundabout, there was a guy with a shop, like a kiosk, selling cassettes. And he let me listen to whatever I was interested in. He would just open them up and play them. And I grabbed a whole bunch of different kinds of music. I saw a cover that just looked really fascinating to me, and it turned out to be this Ata Kak tape, and I was like, I have to check this out.
My name is Ata Kak. In the music world, I'm known as Ata Kak from Ghana. My music journey began when I was just a little child in Africa, and we used to play the drums, anything that would give us the sound that we needed, and we'd be singing along with, and we'd be dancing. I left Ghana in the 80s, and I left for Germany, and I lived there with my family for about 4 years before we left for Canada. I tried to set up my own recording studio, and I started recording myself. And that was when I came up with Obasima.
Ata Kak was an amateur musician. He was self-taught. He didn't have any record label to promote him or produce him. He gathered the instruments that he needed to make his record secondhand around Toronto, and he recorded it in his apartment.
My biggest inspiration while recording the Obasima album was to become successful as a musician. My album wasn't initially successful because I recorded the songs in Canada, and I sent the tape to my brother in Ghana. I think my absence in the country was part of the problem why Obasma wasn't initially successful. I thought I would never be able to go on tour. I thought I would never be able to come up and be known as a musician. When the opportunity came from Brian and from Awesome Tips of Africa, it was just awesome.
I started Awesome Tapes from Africa in 2006 from my apartment in Brooklyn. I, as a big music fan and music researcher, collected hundreds and hundreds of tapes around West Africa, and then I shipped them home. Then I was kind of just sitting in my apartment one day and I thought, oh, people should hear these tapes. I should share these. So I made a blog called Awesome Tapes from Africa. And the very first tape that I posted on the blog was Ata Kak Obasima, because I just thought it was the most interesting, most surprising, very connected to Ghanaian culture, but also very distinctive and different. It sounded like out of this world, but also very familiar at the same time. And I noticed that, hundreds of thousands of people were listening to it on YouTube, and a lot of people had contacted me and said, where is this guy? Who is this guy? I was like, I should turn Awesome Tapes from Africa into a record label, do licensing deals with the artists. You give them cash up front and then do a 50-50 deal.
He knew that I lived in Germany, so he searched for me and he couldn't find me there. And he knew also that I lived in Canada, so he had to come to Canada, and he couldn't get me there as well because he didn't know that I had moved from Canada to Ghana. And so it took many years to get me. We signed a contract, and then one thing led to another, and I started touring. So from the time that I finished recording to the time that I started touring might have taken about over 15 years. Being a Ghanaian, high life is the ultimate sound that you could hear. I fused high life with pop and with funk to get the type of rhythm that I had.
Another cassette that I like to play in my DJ sets that we've also reissued on the record label is by Abiyangana Diop, a singer from Senegal. It's from 1994. I love to play this super powerful song called Jalul Jalul. So when it comes to Nigerian music, there's a lot of good stuff. I love to play stuff like King Sunny Ade, super famous worldwide musician who every record is amazing. I have focused my cassette collecting on African music because there's just no end to the interesting stuff that you can hear and find. And I've always been in love with cassettes as a format and as an easy, inexpensive way to promote and disseminate small music format. What fascinates me most about West African pop music is that it's always been changing based on the different influences that pass through. You have a lot of different influences from the former colonial countries to things that people are hearing on the radio and the internet.
Music is about sound, which must be pleasant to the ear. In the 70s, 80s, and 90s, our type of recording was quite different. Our rhythm was quite different. Everything was different from what we are listening today. And I think that is the reason why ours, or the one we recorded years back, are still trending. But while we were young, your songs had to have a kind of signature, come up as unique. And that is why people must pay attention to Ata Kak.